10 brutal truths about men I'd share with you if you were my daughter. Why? Well, I'm glad you asked, princess. See, I've had my fair share of fun back in my day, and I've watched countless women ruin their self-esteem and their love life chasing after a man that never wanted them. And I'm talking drop dead gorgeous woman, not as gorgeous as your mom, that wasted years of their valuable life. I love you way too much as my daughter to ever let that happen to you. So I've put together a 10-part presentation for everything you need to know and avoid as it relates to chasing men. So please pay attention to all 10 parts, because if I'm gonna give my princess away, it's gonna be to a man who treats her like a queen. Let's begin. Let's start with number 1, pre-selection, because if you make this same mistake like all the other women who chase men, you will ruin your life, and I don't want that for you, okay? I want you to understand, whenever you meet a guy, he's gonna fall in one of these 3 categories. He's gonna have high interest for you, he's gonna have medium interest for you, or he's gonna have low interest for you, okay? I want you to understand, any one of these 3 is okay, but it is not your job to try and turn a medium interest guy into a high interest guy, or a low interest guy into a high interest guy. That's not your duty. The reason this point is called pre-selection is because the men who have genuine interest in pursuing you will pre-select themselves in the way that they approach you, in the way that they talk to you, in the way that they talk towards you and about you, and they will select themselves and show you that they have high interest for you and high interest in trying to build something with you. Why? Because when men understand that they have a desire for you, they take action on that desire by approaching you, by talking to you, by starting a conversation with you. And the men who don't, please don't make any mistake about this. The men who are too shy, who don't have the courage, who are looking at their phone and can't come up to you or say something, they do not have high interest for you. Don't convince yourself otherwise. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. This is what all the other women make this mistake. They think that because a guy is shy, no, he actually has high interest, he just doesn't know how to communicate that. No, he has medium to low interest. That's why he's not taking action and pre-selecting himself. Men who actually have a real desire for you that you won't have to chase will always pre-select themselves in this high interest area. Anytime you end up trying to approach men or do something for men or convince men that are in the medium or low interest area, you are chasing and pursuing that man, and he will punish you for it. So this point number 2 about the lottery, it really grinds my gears, so I want you to stay with me. I'm gonna be a little bit aggravated as I describe this. One of the viruses that I see in my comment section time and time again, it's a virus, is that women will say, oh, well, see, I know a girl, of a friend of a friend of a friend, and she pursued her man, and she chased around her man. And you know, they're in a happy, perfect marriage, and she's the one that came up to him. You stupid YouTuber, you're such an idiot YouTuber. Why does anyone listen to you? All your information about not pursuing men, it doesn't even work or apply, because I've seen women be successful in marriages for years and decades who didn't do what you're saying, which is to not pursue men. Let me explain to you why this is so wrong. In this example of the lottery, I want you to make an association here so we can be on the same page. Let's imagine you know someone who has won the lottery, okay? It's like a friend of a friend. You know of them, they're an acquaintance. And because you know that this person won the lottery, you feel like, wow, the lottery is pretty close to me. I guess people really do win the lottery now that I actually know someone that's won the lottery. So I guess that means I should quit my job, my 9-to-5 that pays me well and pays my bills, because I know someone that's won the lottery. Because their proximity to me makes me feel like my chances of winning the lottery are really high because I know someone who's won the lottery. Would that make any sense? No. Would you quit your job because you know someone who won the lottery? No. Why? Because their proximity to you, just because you know them, that doesn't actually mean that you're gonna have a better chance of winning the lottery. In fact, I think statistically, if you know someone that won the lottery, the chances of you winning it also is probably even slimmer. Now, this is why I'm making this analogy, because if you know a girl who has chased a man and gotten to be in a relationship with that man, even if it's going well, and she's the one that approached him and she's the one that chased him, that doesn't mean that that's going to be applicable for you. Because the reality of it is, out of that one woman that you know was successful in chasing her man, there is a whole bunch of other women who are very, very unsatisfied with their result of chasing men. And they'll all tell you, yeah, don't do it. It doesn't work. Because when I tried it on this guy, when I tried it on that guy, he rejected me, he used me, he took advantage of me, he slept with me, and he went somewhere else to do something else. And I want you to understand, it's okay to know someone who was successful with chasing her man. But I also want you to understand in that same breath that that doesn't mean that that's going to be the strategy that you're going to use to succeed. Because we want to build a strategy for you that statistically majority of women can succeed with. Because you have to understand, when you go out into the world, if you try to do what 1% of women were able to do, the chances of you being successful with that strategy for the 1% is very unlikely. And then when you go out and you utilize the strategy of chasing a man and you're unsuccessful, who's going to be frustrated? You are. For point number 3, I want to talk about being the only one. I want you to understand this concept very importantly. I'm going to give you all 4 different possibilities, and I want to break them down to you. There's a possibility where 2 people could be chasing each other. Well, there's a possibility of it. Does it really work or happen? Not really, because you can't really have 2 people chasing each other at the same time, because that's chasing. Someone has to be the pursuit, okay? Now, let's look at the opposite sense where both are being chased, which means that they're essentially running away from each other. Is anyone doing the chasing? No. So you kind of end up with like 2 really avoidant people. It's just very weird. This is very weird, okay? Or we could have you chasing him, which is exactly what we don't want, my dear daughter. We don't want you to be in that position at all, okay? You chasing that man is only going to lead to him running away from you, or in the process of him being pursued by you, putting his attention elsewhere, which we're going to get to as well later in the show. Now, the last possibility, and the possibility that we want for you, is for him to be chasing you. But why do I bring up all 4 of these different possibilities? Because I want you to understand this very important concept. These aren't really possible. You're never going to be able to build a relationship out of both of you chasing each other at the same time, or both of you wanting to be chased at the same time. It's going to be one of these 2. And we already know that this one is not going to be conducive to the healthy relationship that I want you in. The one where I give my daughter away to a man and he treats you like a queen. The reason I say there can only be one is because at any one period, there can only be one person doing the pursuing, and there can only be one person who's being pursued. And I want you to understand this dynamic so importantly. I want you to drill it into your brain. If you are the one pursuing, he is the one being pursued. He can't be doing it while you're also pursuing. So as soon as you feel that energy towards him where you're like, oh, I'm taking a bunch of action here. Oh, I feel myself pressing. You have to become self-aware and also be very honest with yourself and say, you know what? I know I'm pressing. I need to take a couple of steps back, because as soon as I start pressing, as soon as I start approaching, as soon as I start doing the planning of the dates and the scheduling and the organizing and the calling and the texting, he's going to be the one being pursued. And as he's being pursued, he's going to start moving away from me, because this is the most unnatural way for a relationship to go between a masculine man and a feminine woman. When your relationship is in this state, things start to go in disarray. You don't get the right response from a man, you don't get the right treatment from him, and your dynamic is all thrown off. There can only be one. For point number 4, we're going to talk about interest, because I want you to understand this brutal truth. The laziest women are the women who chase men. I'm going to say it again. The laziest women are the women who chase men. Why? Because it doesn't force you to do this, which is a lot harder than chasing a man. Gauging his interest in you and building the skill set to be able to understand how to analyze and observe men so you can properly and accurately gauge what level of interest he has in you. When you meet a guy and he's talking to you, he's interacting with you, he's flirting with you, he's smiling at you, you want to be able to tell, oh yeah, I can tell he likes me. Even if he's not asking me out on a date yet, I can tell he's interested in me. You want to be able to build that skill set up, versus you also want to be able to build the skill set of being able to, when you're having a conversation with the guy or interacting with him, be able to tell very quickly based on how he's interacting with you, yeah, this guy's interest in me is pretty low. The reason I say the laziest women, they don't do this or they don't bother to do this, is because this process requires self-reflection. It also requires building up the muscle memory to be able to observe men and really be honest with yourself about what their actions are actually meaning. And also, when you chase a man, you can kind of hold a blindfold up to your eyes and pretend like if he has low interest in you, it's not actually happening. And this is where a lot of women go wrong. They make the mistake of saying, I don't want to know the real answer to this question of does he have high interest or low interest? Because I know deep down in my heart, deep down in the depths of my soul and my spirit, if I were to accurately answer this question to myself and pay attention to his actions and leave him be in my feminine energy and just receive what he's ready to give, I would quickly realize that his interest in me is not high. His interest in me is very low. But the women who do a lot of chasing, they blindfold themselves to this because they don't want to be given that answer. They know the answer is this deep down, but they want to feel like his interest in is high because they really like that guy. So when they really like that guy, they say, don't tell me what your interest level is, just let me chase you so I can feel like your interest level is high. And as long as we can continue this facade, we won't actually have to discuss reality. For point number 4, let's discuss being shiny. This is something that a lot of women who chase will never ever be able to do, which is be shinier, newer, and more interesting than the women who don't chase. Let me explain it to you in this graph here. So we have time on the bottom and we have interest here. For the women who chase, every single time you chase a man, you will always start off the most interesting version of yourself at the very beginning, meaning before you open your mouth, before he actually meets you. Why? Because that's when he can at least build his understanding of you off of the fact that you're a feminine, valuable, desirable woman. But as soon as you open your mouth or approach him and begin chasing from the very beginning, you immediately dwindle away your interest level or the interest level that he has in you. And the reason I talk about being a shiny new toy is because men are the most excited for a lot of women at the beginning when they meet them. But especially with the women who chase, they're the most interesting at the beginning simply because after they open their mouth and they begin chasing, they become so much more uninteresting. And if you have ever chased a man, you know this to be true because you notice a drastic difference in the way he responded to you when he really didn't know much about you versus how he's begin to respond to you after knowing you for a longer period of time because he's become accustomed to you chasing him over the course of time. Vice versa, and this is the mistake that the women who chase make, and this is where they become frustrated. The women who don't chase, they actually get better with time because as they don't chase, they build up the guys who have good interest level in them, right? And because they're allowing themselves to be in their feminine energy, be lean back, ready to receive, and giving the guy space to take action in this relationship and to be a masculine man, their interest level, the guy's interest level in that woman grows over the course of time because she's always able to be more interesting because she seems to be more desirable to that man when she's not over pursuing the guy. Anytime you're approaching and pursuing the guy, he's always going to be less interested in you. So how is this frustrating to the women that chase? Because after they initially meet the guy, they spend so much time and energy trying to be as interesting as these women who do not chase. But you can imagine the conundrum because you're pressing now as the woman who started off chasing, trying to figure out how to be as interesting and as shiny as the girls who don't chase that man. And then you end up pressing more, trying to be as shiny and new as these girls. And then it only makes his interest in you go down even more. It's so terrible. For number 5, we're going to discuss the differences between women and men, specifically as it relates to how women and men grow feelings for one another, because it is very different. For you as a woman, you are designed to feel more feelings and stronger feelings for a man who's going to be putting in a lot of work for you. What do I mean a lot of work for you? Like the type of guy who's going to be really consistent with you over the course of time, despite the fact that at the beginning of meeting him, you weren't that interested in him. For example, a guy comes up to you at a party and maybe he's not your type. Maybe he's a little bit shorter than the type of guys you usually go for, but he seems really persistent. He's like, hey, I think you're so beautiful. I would love to take you out. I'd love to show you a good time. And you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if this guy's really my type. Should I give him a chance? But you end up giving him a chance. And over the course of time, even though you're not super keen on him because you're like, hey, this guy isn't super attractive, he's not all the way my type, I usually go for different types of guys. The fact that he's so persistent and the fact that he's always going for you, always putting his best foot forward, bringing you roses, telling you how amazing you are, telling you how beautiful you are, like constantly showing up for you. Over the course of time, you start to think to yourself, you know what? I'm kind of liking that guy. You know, he's kind of growing on me. This is one of the things that a lot of women will say about a guy who's very consistent. Why? You're designed as a woman to feel feelings for men who are very persistent with you in a healthy way, because it shows you this guy's going to protect me. This guy's going to be able to provide for me. And this guy is a hunter. He's also good at hunting. His consistency is also letting me know that he's very serious about me and serious about being with me. You are designed as a feminine woman for this to work on you. This is where the women who chase make their mistake. They think, and this is an easy mistake to make, I don't want you to make this, my daughter. They think that because this works on them and it helps them to fall in love with a man, that when they do this to a man and they show him how dedicated that they are by chasing, by pursuing, by being extremely, extremely consistent, that that man will have the same response as you would if that man was doing that for you. It's a vital mistake, my dear daughter. And this is what happens to the guy when you begin chasing him and doing extra amounts of work for him to prove to him that you can be consistent. He actually doesn't fall in love with you. He asks himself, what is wrong with her? Why? Because we as men are designed differently. If a woman is going out of her way to do the absolute most for us, to try and be as consistent as she possibly can, despite the fact that we know, I'm not really into her, and I think she knows I'm not really into her, and I'm also not doing anything for her, but she's continuing to be persistent, she's continuing to ask me out, she's continuing to call me, she's continuing to text me. Rather than thinking that this woman is more valuable, they start to ask themselves, is she doing this to compensate for the fact that no other man wants her? Because a really desirable woman would be in this position all the time. The position of men in her life, meeting her, approaching her, being persistent with her, and working on her that they can grow on her. The fact that she is spending all this time, attention, and energy trying to grow on me makes me feel like no guy is putting her in this position. And if no guy is putting her in this position, why would I want the woman that no other man desires? For point number 6, I want to discuss losing yourself. It is so easy when you are in the habit of chasing a man or men that you lose yourself. The reason I drew what's supposed to look like a bullseye here is because you will spend your entire relationship or life, decades of your life with that man, trying to constantly hit the bullseye. What is hitting the bullseye? It's chasing perfection. Perfection specifically on what you believe he wants you to be. The perfect way for you to look, the perfect way for you to talk, the perfect way for you to act, the perfect way for your personality to be. And you constantly try to hit the bullseye and figure out what that is today. One day it's your hair color. One day it's your accent. One day it's the way that you dress. One day it's the way that you walk, right? Every day it's something new. But here is the most horrible part. Every time you feel like you get really close to the bullseye, even sometimes maybe you feel like you actually hit it, there is always a new thing that you feel like you must change or adjust or affect or make happen in order for you to exude perfection in this guy's eyes, right? Because you are also chasing after not just him, but his validation. So there's always a new thing that you feel like you need to chase his validation for, and that you need to change in order to receive that validation. And because there's always a new change, you never actually hit the bullseye. Because even when you hit the bullseye just changes. So for point number 8, I skipped 7 because I actually had 2 4s instead of 1. Now, point number 8, we're going to talk about attraction. So in attraction, I want you to understand this. This is kind of embarrassing for me and you to talk about. Let's have a real conversation about the birds and the bees a little bit. I want you to have a successful relationship and then marriage. In order for you to do that, my dear daughter, you need to be attracted to the man that you're going to marry. You need to be able to get stimulated for the man that you're going to be with. I want you to understand stimulation for you as a woman. Trust me. I've learned your mom's body a lot. Stimulation for you as a woman is you understanding that if you don't see your man as the man, then you will not be able to work what's supposed to work in your mind to be able to get down here and below your waist properly lubricated and properly stimulated. Right? What I mean by that is you have to understand there's a connection between how you feel about him and how you feel about him. If that connection isn't there, you won't be able to properly have a successful relationship overall, because the sexual part of your relationship, my dear daughter, will not be going how it's supposed to go. So how does that relate to chasing a man? And why is this such an important concept? Because when you chase a man, you literally strip yourself of your ability to be attracted to that guy. Because as you continue chasing, you continue to feel more and more masculine with the guy that you're with. As you feel more and more masculine, you stop seeing him as the man and you just start to see him as a man. The more this goes on, because you're in your masculine and he's also in his feminine, receiving, because there can only be one, like I said earlier, now all of a sudden, you'll find yourself in a position where you've been in your feminine energy for so long that you might even meet a man who finally makes you feel a little bit like you can be in your feminine energy, and immediately you'll begin to spark attraction and feelings for that guy. But the dangerous part about this is this attraction could be for anyone. It could be for a coworker. It could be for your boss. It could be for some guy you meet at the club. It could be for anyone. Because what happens is when you're so starved of that mind to body connection that you're supposed to be feeling for your man, and that attraction you're supposed to be feeling for him because you feel like he's the man, because he's putting you in your feminine energy, right? When you don't have that, now you have this void that you're walking around with that is very easy for another man to come into your life and fill. Then you have all these confusing feelings and you wonder to yourself, why can't I be attracted to my man? Why do I end up being attracted to other men? But it starts off with the dynamic of chasing a man that ruins your ability to be attracted to him. For point number 9, we're going to talk about punishment, because men will punish you for chasing them. I truly mean that. When I say they'll punish you for chasing them, it's because when you chase a man and you pour all this energy into him, you're reaching out constantly, you're texting constantly, you're calling constantly, there can only be one. And as you're pouring this energy into him, rather than him giving you back this energy because he also wants you, there can only be one, he ends up taking all that excess energy that you pour into him when you're talking him up, when you're trying to gain his approval, when you're trying to gain his validation, all of these things that you'll be doing pouring into him, he'll take that excess energy and he'll say, I find some of these other girls interesting, specifically the ones that aren't chasing me. Why? Like we talked about before, they're shinier, they're newer, they're more fascinating, they're more interesting. See, guys are a little bit like dogs, right? They wag their tail and they stick their tongue out for the things that are running away from them, right? You ever seen a dog chase a ball that hits him in the face? No, you can't really do that. The dog chases the ball that gets thrown away from him, because dogs love the concept of chasing something down. Your man is like a dog. Dogs, men, are hardwired to love the aspect of chasing something down. In this case, it's not a ball, it's a woman. But he's so hardwired for that process that he really can't work well or understand how to even be in a relationship or a situation in which he's getting chased. He needs to use that excess energy to chase a woman down. And there can only be one. You are already doing the chasing here, so he can't use that excess energy on you. He ends up having to use that excess dog chasing energy on the woman who don't want him, because it's like the ball being thrown away from him. Number 10, we're going to talk about accepting less than. When you have standards, okay, what's supposed to happen, my dear daughter, is that this threshold will be where your standards are at. Meaning the men that you meet must do these particular things, which is going to create a culmination of what your standards are. He has to be respectful. He has to take me out on dates. He has to do this and he has to do that, right? This will consist of the threshold that men have to meet in order to continue getting access for you. Okay, that's what should be happening. Now, when you begin to chase men, this is where things get dangerous, because a lot of times your attention and your energy can only be focused in one area in particular at a time. What I mean by that is, if you are thinking about how to chase a man and get him to validate you, get him to accept you, get him to want you, what can you not be thinking of? You can't be thinking of your standards. You can't be thinking of your own expectations. You also can't even be thinking about whether or not he's meeting those standards and expectations. Why? Because you're spending a bunch of your time and energy focused on, is he validating you and does he like and want you with all the chasing you're doing? Because all your energy is spent there, there's no more energy left to actually evaluate, observe, or analyze what he's doing with you. So you end up dropping your standards because you can't possibly think about or spend time thinking about what he's doing for you, because you're spending all your time thinking about what you're going to do for him next.